Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the problems. So, this week, we are going to try to keep track of who's mad at NASCAR. So, let's see. Fans are mad at NASCAR because only 13% of them surveyed said they thought it was a good race. Drivers are mad at NASCAR because we continue to have tire problems. Denny Hamlin is definitely mad at NASCAR for not seeing what William Byron did to him under caution. NASCAR officials are probably even mad at NASCAR for letting Ty Gibbs progress to the point that he endangered two officials with another temper tantrum. Let's see. Have I left anybody out? I'm sure Goodyear is mad at NASCAR too because although their tire may not be up to snuff, there's probably other reasons, and they're probably tired of getting thrown under the proverbial bus. So, we're going to be trying to figure out how many people are mad at NASCAR. People that are not mad at each other are the guys that are with me tonight. None of us are mad at each other, at least as far as I know. Aaron Simmons, Zachary Brandwold. Aaron, how are you this evening?
Doing well, doing well. Right now I'm trying to settle back down from the UT game, which finally we beat Florida. It's about damn time. Not happy with the result, but hey, a win's a win. I'll take it. But right now, right now all day, just pretty much been trying to chill out, trying to take it easy on my my work related injury and try and get that healed up so I can eventually go back to work. But yeah, it's pretty much been a day just chilling around.
Aaron, I would love to have seen your vital signs, your heart rate, your blood pressure, all that stuff when Florida recovered the onside kick and the guy was running down the field with it. Even though he couldn't advance it per the rules, that probably wasn't evident at the time he grabbed that and was running. I would love to have had some health monitors to see what your heart rate and blood pressure were.
Well, knowing Tennessee's past with referees, I would have not been surprised if the refs just went ahead and just called that a legal return for Florida and all the way for a touchdown. So,
all right, Zach, how are you this evening?
Yeah. Other than the Saturday loss, I'm doing pretty great. Congratulations, Aaron and Tennessee. You guys were a better team. So, and that shows. So, made it a close one, which is what I think the goal should have been. But I'm excited. Well, at least for Florida. But I'm excited for our future. So I'm happy with what I saw. And ready for the team to develop more. But as far as on a this week note, today, excuse me, pretty good day today. I'm excited to hear and to be here and talk about racing with y'all.
Okay. All right, let's get into the racing. We did not have a truck race this weekend. We did have an Xfinity race at Texas. And the problem we have at Texas is that I could take my mom's 2003 Chevy Malibu, and I think if I got clean air, I could probably lead the race for 5 or 10 laps, okay? We had a pretty boring Xfinity race, 2 passes for the lead under green, which is not good even for an Xfinity race. Junior Motorsports continues to dominate. Noah Gragson wins again. Is this 4? I can't remember. Is he still streak of winning in a row?
I think this is his
fourth in a row.
Fourth in a row. So if he's not the title favorite after 4 wins in a row, then I don't know who is. Daniel Hemrick did win stage 1, AJ Allmendinger stage 2, but Noah Gragson wins again. The other big story is Ty Gibbs and we'll cover this in the news. Somebody's got to get him under control, and I don't know what's got to happen. Is he got to kill somebody? Is that what it takes for him to realize he's got to get his emotions and his temper under control? Is he got to hurt somebody? Is it got to be an innocent bystander like a NASCAR official? I don't know what the deal is with this kid. He's out of control. I don't know if nobody's counseling him or he's just not listening to it. But the kid has got to get brought under control before he kills somebody. It's just that simple. So I'm hoping that happens sooner rather than later. But right now, week by week, he has just proven to me that he is even more out of control. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Um, Aaron, what did you think of the Xfinity race?
Honestly, man, I was watching the entire race back earlier today, and it got to a point to where I went out, I did a little bit of laundry, came back, worked on the agenda, tuned back in, and still nothing happened. I mean, yeah, there's like some jockeying in the back, but like up front, towards the front of the field, nothing happened. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I feel like I'm just like skip through most of this race, and I did, because nothing was happening, nothing noteworthy was happening on the race, and that's just a part of Texas now. This is Texas. It's just boring. God bless it, boring racing. 3 hours of my life on to get back.
3 hours? You must only caught the highlights. With the rain delay and all the, and what would we have, 16, 17 cautions? For 3 hours, I don't even know if we were halfway.
Or cup race.
Oh, cup. Well, I'm sorry. I'm jumping in. Sorry. I'm a little tired. You got to cut me a break. All right, Zach, what did you think of the Xfinity race? Let me make sure I keep us on schedule this time.
No worries. Look, I'll just be honest. I did not get a chance to catch the Xfinity Series race this weekend.
Good for you.
Great for Noah Gragson. I'm sure that Aaron and I were too busy watching something else to watch the Xfinity Series race. But I'm happy for Gragson. Yeah, he's definitely hands away a title favorite. If he doesn't win the title, I'll be very, very, very shocked. And I think this just solidifies that he's ready for Cup.
Talent-wise, yes.
I'm not sure he's going into the best situation as far as having competitive equipment, but yeah, he's showing that with that junior motorsports car underneath him, he is definitely, I think, the class of the Xfinity field right now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, okay, the big show, the big S show. Here's the deal: we didn't have power steering failures. Okay, we didn't have that. We eliminated that, but we continue to have drivers with trouble, predominantly blown tires. We had Kyle Busch, we had Christopher Bell, we had Alex Bowman, we had Chase Elliott. We had Truex Jr., we had Kyle Busch, we had Ricky Stenhouse. We had, was it Cole Custer that actually had a tire go flat under caution? Okay. Yeah. Cody Ware with one of the hardest hits I have seen in a very long time. So glad to see him walk away. Chase Elliott blew a tire and caught on fire. William Byron, I don't know how you get away with this. William Byron flat out dumps Denny Hamlin under caution and not only gets away with it, but Hamlin loses the spot on the racetrack. And I have no idea how, in what universe that seems fair, appropriate, or makes sense. To tell you how crazy the day was, they were throwing the caution while they were showing a pit road reporter with the sun shining on him. And I know it's a big track, but that's just how crazy it was. It was raining hard enough in one part of the track to throw the red flag while the sun was shining on pit road. Chris Buescher with the tire down, Kevin Harvick with the tire down. The place you didn't want to be was out front, because if you had the fastest car, you were putting the most strain on your tires, and it was going to go down, and it was like it was a ticking time bomb. You had about 35 or 40 laps, and then a tire was going to go. You just hoped somebody blew a tire before you did so you could come to pit road and change it. 10 sets of tires, I believe 10 if I'm not mistaken, and people were running out of tires. That's how bad it was. And people were scared to death to be out there because they knew they were going to have trouble, or they were at least scared of having trouble. But anyway, I've probably only scratched the surface on this. At the end of the day, it is Tyler Reddick bringing home the victory. And I don't know if you call it a victory in a race or a victory in a war of attrition, but he gets the trophy regardless. And I want to say at least part of the blame for all of this, at least the Chase Elliott part, where he had a tire come apart while running very well, definitely is not the fault of Goodyear. It's not the fault of NASCAR. It's not the fault of the car setup. It is absolutely 100% the fault of Aaron Simmons. Last week, Aaron made the comment that Chase Elliott was the only driver that was safe based on points. So, Aaron, expect a call from Dawsonville, Georgia. I'm putting that one on you.
I said relatively safe is what I said.
Yeah, but it's Texas. Things are bigger in Texas, so that statement became bigger.
Fair enough.
All right. Aaron, this is your chance. What did you think of the race? This is your chance to redirect the conversation and change the topic.
Well, I would rather be doing anything else than watching a race in Texas now. Even for 16 caution flags, a track record, by the way. It wasn't like people were trying to drive hard. They were just trying to, not tear their crap up, is what it was. I mean, just really.
You know what we need?
I will get into like news story later, but I completely agree with what Larson says, and we will be going on about that later on in this show. But I completely agree with what he says. Texas just sucks. It used to be one of my favorite tracks to watch because it was fast. It was multi-groove racing. You can go high, you can go low, you can pass, you can do whatever you want at Texas. It was an amazing track. Granted, it was a cookie cutter track, but it was fun. It just felt different at Texas. Now, I'm just envisioning I'll be celebrating the day that's finally demolished. Good riddance.
Yeah, we need to do one of two things. We either need to fill that place up with water and start having bass fishing tournaments there, or we need to have a race of bulldozers to see which ones can tear it up the fastest. So, Zach, what do you think?
I mean, pretty much everything that you guys just said. I don't like Texas since they reconfigured it. I think that the racing in Texas was an upgrade from just a pure racing standpoint than what we saw the past couple races there. Because if you remember, they had, I think it was like the 550 package, and it was just basically like a mini Talladega or Daytona where it's, you're drafting. So we did see some guys being able to use that second, or really, I wouldn't even call it a second lane, but just like a half a lane up, which I think is a good direction. However, with everything that happened on the night, as far as like the tire failures and I noticed also as the night went on later into the night, I think the track surface got worse. I don't know if you guys saw this, but when I was watching it, literally it looked like the surface was like glistening because I think it was just all the marbles were moving up the track, and that traction compound, and it just looked like ice to me. Any like half a lane up, above half a lane up, so 1.5 lanes was basically how much you could utilize. And so as far as a pure racing standpoint, I thought it was somewhat better than previous years, and yet that benchmark is extremely low, granted. So I'm all for trying to find a solution, and I don't know what that's going to be, but I really hope that they get it figured out. But ultimately, when you look at it, some playoff drivers had issues, which is not good. So, guys like Christopher Bell and Chase Elliott, obviously, I forget who the last guy is that's on the cutoff line, but Alex Bellman, had issues. But other than that, we saw some guys actually do really well. So playoff grid is kind of shaken up now, heading into the final two races of the round of 12. So we'll see how that plays out with Super Speedway and a road course, kind of two wild card races, heading trying to vie for the round of 8. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and one of Aaron was showing a statistic earlier that I think 13% of fans rated Texas a good race, and I want to know I want to know their mental state and what drugs they are on. It's not surprising that it's that low. It's surprising that they had anybody rate it that high.
I don't know if I don't know if you guys went over the statistics already about how many drivers had issues, but I think it was like 8 drivers had issues, 3 playoff drivers had issues, or no, 3 drivers from the lead had tire issues, and then 3 playoff drivers also all had tire issues on the day, and 2 of them, I believe, were Terminal Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
a very, very sad race in my opinion. But let's move on. Let's get to the news stories. So, Zach, take us through the news stories.
Actually, so the first one I think we should start off with, just as continuity wise, I think should be the tire issues that we saw at Texas. So there are several different voices that came out in various different directions about the tire issues that we saw both at Bristol and Texas. And I want to read you guys kind of who is blaming who the blame game, essentially. What are they pointing to, and what we can take away from this. So the first story is Goodyear's Greg Zucker on the tire issues tonight at Texas. Specifically, he blamed the air pressures and the teams. He came out in a video and said that it was basically on the teams for their air pressure and setups. Similar story to what we saw at Bristol. Then, excuse me, NASCAR crew chief, I believe it's Rodney Childers, said that Goodyear's blown tires are a symptom of the rules, more specifically restrictions on suspension adjustments, and incentivizing teams to lower tire pressure in pursuit of downforce is what Rodney Childers said. It wasn't necessarily Goodyear's fault, but it was the rules that are in place. We have to lower the tire pressure in order to get more of a seal to the ground. And then Elliott said it was not Goodyear's fault for tire failures at Texas. He said that they're put in a bad position by NASCAR to build a tire that can survive these types of racetracks with this car. I wouldn't blame Goodyear, is his direct quote. And then Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. had similar, put the blame similarly. And Joey Logano said, yeah, it's the tires. If they aren't blowing out, then they're square, is his specific quote. So he's saying they don't last properly. And we saw some reports out of the garage that, guys would run 100 and some odd laps on a set of tires and then put new ones on, and they wouldn't last nearly as long. That was some of the issues the voices that we heard out of the garage. So guys like Martin Truex Jr. and Joey Logano kind of siding with that side. And then Hamlin said, if you're thinking that maybe NASCAR would look into somebody else for tires, keep dreaming. Goodyear pays them a fat check, so they're allowed to gouge teams each week. So those are the storylines. What are your guys' kind of thoughts? I know it's a lot to digest, but I think we kind of went all over the board here. But Tom, let's hear from you first.
First, I think it's interesting that now that Denny Hamlin is a car owner, he is talking about NASCAR or Goodyear gouging the teams with the price of the tires. I think that's a comment he probably doesn't make before he owns a vehicle. Here's the thing that I have a hard time buying if you want to put the blame on somebody other than Goodyear, okay? Goodyear, they bring a different tire to Talladega, to Texas, to Martinsville, to Bristol, to Richmond, etc. They're bringing a different tire every time you go to a track, okay? You've had 30 chances to figure out what you need to do, whether it is create a stiffer sidewall or whatever it is, you had 30 chances to adjust and get this right. Okay. So it's hard for me to accept that it's somebody's fault other than Goodyear, because let's face it, like Rodney Childers said, okay, you're not going to change the diffuser. You're not going to get rid of the spring limiter rule. Those things are constants. Okay. The one thing that can change from week to week is the tire that Goodyear brings. So after 30 chances, I would expect a little bit more from Goodyear. So to some degree, I'm not buying it. I still think you could blame a lot of people for this, but I still think the top of the list has got to be Goodyear.
What about you, Aaron?
I was sitting back and kind of thinking about all the years that Goodyear has been in NASCAR, and I don't think we've had this bad of a year since the very early 90s. It seems like every single week we have near double-digit drivers who are blowing tires or something along that effect. I mean, you can tell the teams to be conservative all they want to. They're not going to do it. I mean, they've been aggressive for decades with very little, with very little tire blowouts than back then. So why are they having it now? Well, because there's not as much tread on the tires now. There's not as much rubber on the tires now as there were way back then. That's probably why that's happening. I don't know why they decided to change it. I thought the old tires held up just fine. I don't know why, but they did. Honestly, I'm thinking all this. Nobody has any idea what the hell's going on, is what I'm taking away from this, in short summary. Goodyear's saying it's the teams are saying it's Goodyear. NASCAR's blaming everybody else. Everyone's blaming everybody. Nobody knows what's going on. All we know is that something has to get freaking fixed here, because these cars are obviously hurting people. Harvick got hurt. Kurt Busch got hurt. Cody Ware somehow miraculously survived that crash but got hurt. These cars are hurting, and they can depend on their tires. That's a bad combination if you want to try to get people back into the sport. So something has to get fixed here.
Absolutely. I agree with both of you guys on this one. Ultimately, I think when you look at it, the fact that there are so many different factors, I don't want to say anybody's actually really wrong here besides maybe Goodyear. I mean, take some responsibility. If I would love for Goodyear to take some responsibility from this, and say, yes, we are having these problems. We're looking into it and we're going to come out with a comprehensive solution. But instead, the fact that they're trying to play the blame game here really doesn't sit well with me. And I think that's why we're hearing some of these drivers and teams come out and say, hey, don't blame the teams for trying to just simply lead some laps, and blowing tires is ridiculous. So, I don't want to say any of these thought processes are necessarily wrong. I think the drivers have a very, very good idea of kind of what's going on. So I don't want to say like guys like Elliott are necessarily wrong in saying that maybe it's not 100% Goodyear's fault. But at the same time, when you have guys like Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Hamlin, I mean, the list goes on, all having issues with the tires. I think that also, there's something that needs to be done for sure. I think I align more with kind of maybe what Rodney Childers said in they're having to run these tires so low, because when you look at it, the splitter from past years is sitting so far up. And so you're not able to actually get good downforce underneath the car as you normally would. So you are having to run tire pressures really low in order to set the car lower. So that completely makes sense to me. So I think it's really just a combination of everything here. Goodyear it's the first year Goodyear's doing this. They need to figure it out, bring it back to the R&D center, figure it out themselves. And then also NASCAR, I think, needs to look at what the rules and the design of the car looks like, so that way they can change it either for next year. Maybe make a air pressure minimum air pressure that teams have to sustain potentially in order to be in regulation. So yeah, I think it's a combination, but that's my thoughts on that. Kind of along the similar lines, Kyle Larson proposed a radical change for Texas. He wants to essentially tear down Texas, demolish Texas, and start from scratch. And I kind of think I already know what your guys' thoughts are, but Aaron, what do you think of this?
That's the best idea I've heard in weeks. Just get rid of Texas. It's time. Please. If you're not going to change the track, just get rid of it. I mean, this is the lowest race that fans have liked since your All-Star race this year. That's not a coincidence. That's fact. This racetrack is horrible. The drivers hate it. The fans hate it. The team owners are starting to hate it. Everyone, there's nothing to like about this track anymore. It is so bad toward the upper grooves are stained with PJ1 and rubber. It is horrible. Either change it or get rid of it. There is no, well, we'll try again next year, or let's try a different package, or let's try. No. The time for that has long since passed. Get rid of it. It's done. It's over. It's time.
What about you, Tom?
Kyle Larson for president. Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Yeah. Best idea I've heard out of a driver in a long time. So yeah.
If you read further into it, he says that he would probably make it a 3/4 mile Bristol, something like that. I don't necessarily. I don't like the idea of turning it into a short track. And here's why: because there's not that many 1.5 miles on the schedule, or longer. We got tracks like Auto Club turning into a short track. I don't like this trend of turning into a short track, especially when you look at it and this new car that we have hasn't really been running well on short tracks when you compare it to the 1.5 mile races that we've seen. Yeah, so I don't like that idea at all. And they're starting to become somewhat extinct. I mean, I hope that they can figure it out. I think with maybe more aging, maybe it would help. I think definitely losing that, more progressive banking that they had prior to 2017 really hurt Texas. So I wouldn't mind a demolish and a reconfiguration, but I still hope that it stays at a 1.5 miles or maybe longer, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, in this article, he says that either a Bristol type track or an Atlanta type track, where it's like a 1/2 super speedway. Please, no.
I think
I'd rather take a Bristol type track rather than Atlanta super speedway, because that's a gimmick.
Well, I think that this track, Texas, probably would have been better suited for something like Atlanta did this past season, because I personally loved Atlanta. I thought that it was great. I didn't really want them to touch it, but I thought that Texas would probably be the first one to go. I mean, it's so big. You got a lot of space, and it would be pretty, some relatively easy to reconfigure, that they would do that, but they ultimately chose Atlanta instead. So I hope that they don't go that route, because I don't want to see more super speedways on the schedule. I mean, we already have enough, in my opinion.
We got 2 Daytonas, 2 Talladegas, and then now 2 Atlantas. Just
right.
No.
And not to mention a bunch of NASCAR drivers don't like racing super speedway races anymore.
No.
So
again, owners hate it, drivers hate it, team owners absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
The reason they do it is because of nostalgia, history, and the fan base. That's all. That's the only reason why they do it.
Absolutely. But moving right along, NASCAR penalizes Byron and Ty Gibbs after issues. So Byron, after his intentional wrecking of Denny Hamlin under caution, and Ty Gibbs' issue on pit lane, nearly bumping Ty Dillon into oncoming crew members. So Byron was hit with a 25-point penalty, costly penalty for him for the playoffs, as well as $50,000. And then Gibbs was fined $75,000 after hitting Ty Dillon on pit road, almost coming into contact with pit crew of yeah. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? Tom?
Neither one of these are a good look for NASCAR. Okay. And NASCAR is setting the bar pretty low right now because they have had so many things that are such bad looks for the sport. And here we are. You have cameras all over the place at the track. You have an in-car camera on William Byron. You have a camera in the car, and they can't seem to find him intentionally dumping Denny Hamlin under caution. And not only can they not find it, they let him have Hamlin's position. Could you screw this up any more? Who are these NASCAR officials? If we got Helen Keller and Ray Charles officiating these races, the incompetence that NASCAR seems to display over and over again seems to blow my mind. And I'm sorry, but this whole Ty Gibbs thing, I'm afraid this doesn't end till he kills somebody. Okay. He is out of control. He uses that car as a sledgehammer week in and week out. And this week, instead of putting other drivers potentially in danger, he actually put NASCAR officials in danger. Okay. And I'm sorry, $75,000 is a drop in the bucket to somebody like Ty Gibbs from the Gibbs family. You start putting people in danger that are innocent bystanders like officials. That is when you're past the point of saying we're going to penalize you with fines or points. That's when you get parked. Okay. That is when you get parked. Period. End of story. I'm sorry. NASCAR it's not a good look for either one of them. And now by doing a slap on the wrist for Ty Gibbs, they're making it worse. And if I'm a NASCAR official, I'm sitting here saying, you have just shown what value you place on my life and my health and my safety, and it's not much.
Yeah. He was also fined $11,000 or sorry, $15,000, excuse me, for making contact with Sam Mayer in an Xfinity Series race while he was in the pits. I don't know if you remember that earlier this season. So this is not his first incident in NASCAR on pit lane, which is crazy to me. What are your thoughts on this, Aaron?
Pretty much same as Tom. I mean, how do you not know, or how do you not have a view of Byron just dumping Hamlin, especially when you're at the exit of turn 4? That should be a focal point for cameras, because it's just coming out the corner. The cars are getting real close to that wall, and you don't have a camera there to catch it. Was the camera guy off on lunch break during that time, or was he just? Honestly, did Fox broadcast that race? Did the Fox crew come over for a race just to get an extra paycheck? How do you not have a camera view on that? And actually, it was until later that race that they finally decided, oh, wait, he has an in-car view camera. We can just use that. How did you not know from the beginning? Also, for Ty Gibbs, dude. Like, no. I agree with Tom. You should have been parked immediately after following that. I don't get it.
Yeah, at the very least, I think that Ty Gibbs probably should have even received a suspension. I mean, that looked blatant as blatant as it blatant could be, in my opinion. I don't know why it was just not even talked about or handled, it seemed like, during the race. And I definitely thought this was very suspension worthy. $75,000, like you said, Tom, doesn't really mean much. It really doesn't. And I'm sure the team is going to take care of that anyway. As far as Byron, I guess 25 points is a lot. And hopefully this deters other drivers from doing this. I don't know if I really expected more out of this, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about this being a correct penalty for this. I mean, ultimately, Denny Hamlin didn't it didn't really affect him that much. He still finished like 10th, but he probably had a car that could have probably won. So ultimately, I think, this cost Denny Hamlin a lot. So how they have cameras on pretty much every single car, as far as for NASCAR goes. Now they're only allowed to broadcast so many of them, and that's why there's not very many options when you choose like the in-car cameras. But pretty much every single team or every single car has cameras on them just so NASCAR can monitor what's going on with each car. So the fact that they didn't have the information to understand exactly what happened with this situation was pretty. I didn't like their excuse. I thought it was kind of bullshit. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, Tom, I don't know if they were blind, but they sure as crap have seen less important things on the racetrack in years prior. So moving right along, let's see. Last news story: Jimmy Johnson will retire from full-time racing after this. Well, now essentially, he's not going to be returning to IndyCar for next season, but he is going to still do some type of racing, just not really full-time. According to Bob Pockrass, Johnson expressed some interest in doing the IndyCar and NASCAR double at some point in the Justin Marks 91 car. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Aaron, let's start with you.
I mean, if I'm Jimmy Johnson, I have the notoriety to do any race I want, to go to any team I want. And so if I had that notoriety, I would absolutely do it. I mean, it seems like every single driver has thought about doing the double at least once in their lifetime. And we've seen that it is absolutely possible. I mean, Jimmy having experience in both IndyCar and NASCAR, I mean, I think he'd be a great fit, especially for Justin Marks, who would have an available open seat for him if he chose to want it, because who wouldn't choose Jimmy Johnson? I think it would be very cool for him to do so, but if he doesn't, I get it. I mean, he's 47, and that is a very long day for someone even in their peak physical condition. It is a challenge. So, but that's why drivers do it, for the challenge. But long story short, I will let see Jimmy Johnson do it.
What about you, Tom?
I'm glad to see Jimmy give Indy a shot, because I think he really wanted to do it. And I think maybe if he got into it when he was younger, he could have been ultra successful in it. But I think he got into it probably too late to reach the pinnacle of that sport. But I'm glad he got a chance to do it, because that was something that was clearly important to him. And as a 7-time champion, he's earned the right to go out and experiment and do some things that he wants for fun. But it's just the time is right for him to retire from the full-time racing. I get the feeling this Indy 500, Coca-Cola 600 is kind of like a bucket list thing for him that he'd like to check off, and I would love to see him do it. He's still got enough name recognition that he can attract attention from teams and probably from sponsors. I hope he gets to do it. I don't expect him to be a threat to win at either one. But with all that he has accomplished in the sport and all that he has done for the sport, I would think it would be great to see him have a chance to fulfill what I think is probably a bucket list item.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't think he was the best at road courses in his career. And that's predominantly what IndyCar runs. And he definitely showed promise on the ovals as well. So I think, if there were more ovals on the schedule, I think he would consider coming back. But with the lack of ovals on the IndyCar schedule, I would definitely say that, the time is right. Go enjoy your life, do what you want to do, and just have fun. So I'm happy for him. Hopefully he gets to do the double. That would be freaking awesome to see somebody do that. Maybe with Kyle Busch, now that he's considering doing the Indy 500, now that he's out of JGR's hold on it. I know we talked about that, or maybe we didn't talk about that. But anyway, Yeah, I'm happy for him. But that's the news this week.
Okay, that brings us up to who's hot and who is not. So, Zach, let's start with you.
Sure. So who is hot? I'm going to go with Michael McDowell. 13th place average finish over the past 6 races. He's been doing pretty good, really. Average start of 11th place, average finish of about 13th. I think really overachieving for that race team. So, and he's coming up with, in this round where you have both a plate race, which he's really good at, and a road course. So I expect over the next 2 races that he probably does pretty well at those races as well. And then as far as my who's not, I'm going to say Kyle Busch again. I know that I said this 2 weeks ago, but I'm going to have to say Kyle Busch again because when you look at it, it is just really, really not good. Last place out of all all drivers that have competed full time in the past 6 races. That's like good for 39th place with even guys doing part time. 28th average place finish. So one lower than Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He only has one top 20 and one top 10 and one top 20, excuse me, in 6 races. He's led 162 laps, 3 DNFs. So just not good, not a good time for Kyle Busch right now. He's really in a slump. I think when you look at it, even going back a few races prior to this, he has really just not done well, even going into playoffs. So that's my who's hot and who's not for this week.
Now, Kyle Busch has had fast cars. Okay, let's be honest. Most of the time, he has been again blown a tire, blown an engine, got caught up in a wreck, whatever his deal is, get chastained. But he has been running in the top 5 for most of the day, or at minimum top 10 when that happens. So I think Kyle Busch has had extremely fast cars. He's just had extremely bad luck.
Yeah, over 15 races, he averages a 24th place finish with only 2 top 10s, which is only worsened by Cody Ware.
Yeah. Well, and I would like to know of those races, how many of them were either accident, mechanical failure that led to that finish? Because I bet it is a bunch.
It says it actually says it's 4 DNFs. So I don't know. I mean,
that's a DNF. That doesn't mean he didn't get the car repaired and come back out and then he laps down or something. So there's more to it than just a DNF. But I mean, every week you see him being interviewed before the race is over because something's happened to the car.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, Aaron, who you got for who's hot, who's not?
All right. So for who's hot this week, in case y'all have not heard or seen this story or seen the video, this guy by the name of Davey Callahan, who is running a race over at Martinsville, he got his 15 minutes of fame, but not in the best light possible. As you can see, it's already going to be such a good video, and he's already at someone else's car. Go and let video play, and he starts just swinging. Apparently, he and that driver had got into a altercation on the racetrack, and so he just starts going to town on him. And be picked up by a crew member and just gone.
Does the guy inside have his helmet on?
Yeah. So he literally just parked his car right there, and immediately he comes in from the sidelines and just starts swinging.
Wow.
I mean, without hesitation, without anything. So, David Callahan, you definitely got your 15 minutes of fame, and you have been noticed in the world, but not in the best way possible. So,
yeah. If I am the guy sitting there, I think I fire the engine up and drive away.
That's not a bad idea. But that is my who's hot for this week. Who is not, and Tom had alluded to this earlier in the broadcast. My predictions. Here is the audio.
Can't hear it. We can't hear anything.
Oh, can't hear it.
Nah.
Well, anyway, go back to like this point in the video from last week, and you will see my bold prediction of Chase Elliott being the only one safe.
Try it again. See if we can get video or audio this time. I don't know why we saw it on the other video, not this one. I'm not hearing anything. You hear anything, Zach?
I can't. Zach, you hear it?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
Okay, well, shoot. That sucks. Well, anyway, it was supposed to be me just going on saying about how Chase was supposed to be the only safe driver in the playoff because he has such a large cushion. And then the Goodyear guys decided to just throw him a shitty tire. So that was supposed to be the reason for that. So that's why who's hot and who's not.
Okay.
Dadgummit.
Okay. All right. I cannot believe that you guys left this one wide open for me. Okay. Noah Gragson, 4 wins in a row in the Xfinity Series. Noah Gragson is my hot. Thank you guys for leaving that softball on the table for me. I'm going to pick that one up for sure. Noah Gragson, 4 wins in a row. He is my who's hot. My who is not is Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, just 2 races ago, I think was at the top of the point standings. And Christopher Bell is now 25 points below the cut line, setting in 11th place, not just 25 points below, but he is actually, I think, 11th place. So it's not just he's got to make up 25 points. He's got to pass 2 guys. It doesn't help that he only earned 3 points this weekend at Texas. So Christopher Bell is my who is not.
Honestly, really good picks. And hey, I would have gone Noah Gragson, but I had to include that video. It is just too raw and too funny not to show.
And my dogs have to get up here and get their camera time. This is Sunny.
Hey, absolutely.
This is Sunny, the yellow one, and this is Lola, the black one. You two doing okay? You two want some camera time?
Hey, they're always wanting to get camera time.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Christopher Bell, he was doing really well up until the points reset, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens. But anyway, I think we're now up to my favorite segment, green flag or red flag, with your judge presiding, Judge Aaron. And we will go ahead and get into the first, I guess, what is it? The first case of the day. Do you think Jimmy Johnson will race a few events in NASCAR in 2023 now that he's basically free from IndyCar? Green flag or red flag? Zach, we'll start with you first.
I don't think so. I think he wants to do some other events. I think he has done NASCAR. I don't think he would do a few events. I would say maybe one Coke 600, but I think the whole point of retiring from IndyCar would be to kind of do what he wants to do, which he mentioned was try out other series. So I'm going to say red flag.
Okay.
I'm going to say green flag. I don't know that he has completely got all the racing out of his system. And I could see many scenarios where he does a few NASCAR events. I could see him running Xfinity to get tuned up for the Coca-Cola 600. So I could see him doing a couple of Xfinity races. I could see him, if we have another Kurt Busch situation where somebody has an injury and can't perform, especially if it is a Hendrick driver, because we have seen Rick Hendrick pull people out of retirement before, such as he did with Jeff Gordon when Dale Earnhardt was recovering from a concussion. I could see Justin Marks and Team 93 or whatever they're calling it, giving him a shot to drive at a specific track just because it would make such a big splash. I can see so many scenarios where he could that I'm going to say green flag. I think one of them happens and he runs a few events.
Okay. I got to go with green flag too. I agree with Tom here. Just because, Jimmy Johnson is a race car driver. I really don't think the racing bug is out of the system yet. If it truly was, he would not have said, he and Marks have been in contact with each other, and he's been thinking about running the 91 for a few events or even doing the double. So it is obvious that Johnson still has some racing left in him. Will he be competitive? Probably not. But he's not done just yet. It may not be next year. It could be in 2024, but I really don't think he's done quite yet. I think we may see him possibly next year because he has no manufacturer contract yet. He has no team contract yet. He's free to do whatever he wants. And so, if I could pick and choose what races I want to go at and what team I want to go for, why not? Why not? Just give it a try. See if you like it. So I got to go green flag. And he ain't done yet. Let's see. So we'll go to the comments here. We got Mike Hora saying red will be 2025. Okay. And then, of course, team with Robbie Gordon into Baja or Dakar. Those are some very prestigious races, and so I will not be surprised to see him do that. So, green flag, red flag number 2 of the night. Texas was once again disappointing weekend for racing, with only one race for Texas Motor Speedway in 2023. Do you think Texas will be around in 2024? Green flag or red flag? Tom, you're up first.
Oh, can you let Zach go on this one?
Okay, Zach, would you like to go first?
Sorry, I need to look something up.
Yes, I think that it will be on the schedule for 2024 in one way, shape, or form. Speedway Motorsports owns Texas, and they pretty much, provide all the racetracks for NASCAR. So they have a big say in where they race. Texas is a huge market for not just NASCAR, but motor racing in general. And so, I think it'll be on the schedule for 2024, either reconfigured or standard.
Okay. Tom, are you ready to give your argument?
Yeah, I'm going to say green flag. It's going to be on the schedule. I'm looking it up, and if you look, what you've got is the closest tracks to Texas that run on the NASCAR Cup schedule. You got COTA, which is 3 hours away in the same state. But as far as oval tracks, I think Talladega and Kansas are the two closest, and the closest of those is an 8-hour drive. I think it is such a market that doesn't have any other NASCAR tracks around it that plays a factor in it. It's a major media market, which plays another factor, and the ownership lends itself toward it, as Zach says. So yeah, I'm going to go with whether we like it or not, it's here. And as we have seen with NASCAR turning Bristol into dirt and repaving Atlanta, they aren't real concerned with what the fans think a lot of times, especially when it comes to picking and choosing tracks. The most recent example being the Chicago street course being picked in favor of going to Road America, which was a huge fan favorite. So yeah, NASCAR has said they don't care what the fans think, and with the ownership, it's going to be there.
Well, I was hoping one of you would say red flag so I can agree with you, but both of you have presented compelling arguments, and so therefore I will rule in favor of green flag. With SMI's involvement in Texas, it's going to be damn near impossible for them to take Texas off the schedule. But I sincerely hope that they get rid of Texas or reconfigure it like tomorrow, because there's no way that Texas will survive in its current state. We said this to death earlier in the show, so I'll sum this down. Texas bad, please fix. Please. All right. Moving on to the next one, as we will take a look at Mike Hora's comment. Green flag, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, we feel you, brother. All right. Green flag, red flag, number 3 of the night. Will Denny Hamlin pay William Byron back before the year is out for the intentional wreck? Green flag or red flag? Tom, we'll start with you.
You know, NASCAR drivers are notorious for running their mouths when their emotions run high and making threats and then never following through with them. Okay. They're famous for that. You hear it a lot where they talk about, oh, race how you want to be raced, and it's a long season, and sometimes they make out more direct threats, and then they never follow through with it. Okay, Denny Hamlin is the exception to that. He means what he says. If he says he's going to pay you back, he's going to pay you back. Ask Ross Chastain. Okay. So I am going to say, yes, he will pay him back, because we can look at Denny Hamlin's history and he doesn't bluff. And you do something to him, he won't forget about it. He'll store it away. He'll pick a time and he will come back at you. And if you don't believe me, ask Ross Chastain. So most other drivers, I would say it's all talk and no show. But Hamlin, I think he'll follow through.
Okay. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Hamlin's so pissed, especially at Bowman or Byron, excuse me. I think he will pay Byron back one way or another, especially if his playoff run ends after this round of 12. So yeah, I definitely think that Byron he will pay him back.
All right. It's kind of a tough one, but yeah, I'll go green flag. I'll agree with you guys. I was thinking that Hamlin could do kind of what he did Ross Chastain at Gateway and just kind of intimidate him and intimidate Byron enough, but then again, Byron is someone I don't think you can intimidate that much. So I think Hamlin is going to pay him back before, just in case Byron needs a win to get in. I think Hamlin's going to be there to really just slam the door in his face and laugh all the way back. So I really think Byron is going to be in for a very tough rest of the playoff season. And Green Martinsville, I mean, he's already paid back Chastain, and Martinsville is indeed on the schedule. Could we see another a McKenzie situation play out? We'll see. All right, so I asked this question last week, and we still have not got an answer. Will we see a playoff driver get a win around the 12? It still has not happened yet. We still have not seen a playoff driver get a win in this current system. Will it happen? Zach, we'll start with you first.
Yes, it will. I just think it's a matter of time. I mean, I know we've been saying this for weeks, but I think this week is the week. We're gonna have some guys. I mean, like if you look at it, Joe Logano, he has nothing to gain from trying to run up front and get stage points this week, in my opinion. I think, being 30 points up or potentially more now that Byron has his penalty, 37 points up, right? He just needs to finish. And so I think that we've seen a lot of craziness happen at Talladega or plate tracks in general. So I think it's very likely at Talladega that we'll get a playoff driver to win.
Now, Zach, be careful of that. As a man from experience, be careful when you say that.
I am just saying, Joe Logano would be smart to not go for stage points and ride in the back and finish rather than be among the craziness. I mean, we saw Talladega earlier this year. We've seen the 2 Daytona races. Even both Atlantas, a bunch of wrecks. not a lot of people finished. So, being 37 points above the cut line at this point after race 1, definitely would consider that team just ride around in the back, finish, maybe go for stage points in stage 1, but after that, drop to the back. It's not worth it.
Okay. All right, Tom, what say you?
Zach, I am shocked. Back when we had 10 winners, you were saying we're going to have over 16 winners, and I was saying no way. Now you're jumping off the bandwagon. You've been saying more winners, and every week you keep being proven right. You finally convinced me. I jumped on the bandwagon too after being proven wrong like 5 different times. Now you're jumping off the bandwagon? I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Hold on. I will get this. I will get to it in my Talladega picks, but I am picking a guy who has not won a race this season, who also happens to be in the playoffs, if that narrows it down for you.
I know who that's got to be then.
So
I think we all know who that is.
So I do think that we will get a new winner. I just don't think it'll be somebody for the playoffs.
Okay, let's review here, okay? We have this 3-race set in this round of the playoffs, and I said this last week. This is custom made for the underdogs. We've got Talladega coming up, which we know anybody can win at. Last time we were at a plate track, we had Landon Castle, Noah Gregson, Cody Ware, and BJ McLeod all finish in the top 10, okay? So it is a given that anything can happen at Talladega. And at the road courses, to me, the road courses have been where the underdogs have shined the most. This has been where you've seen like BJ McLeod, Chris Buescher be threats to win at virtually every road course we've been to. And that's the last race in this stage. So I think the road courses have become a place where the underdogs can really shine. This is custom made for non-playoff drivers. So I'm saying that playoff drivers will get wins in the playoffs, but it's not going to happen in this round. So that is my pick.
All right, so you're going with green flag, right? Just so we're clear.
That would be green flag, yeah, that they're not that.
All right.
That non-playoff drivers will. Wait a minute, will we see a playoff driver get a win in round 12? Is green flag saying no?
Green flag saying yes, there will be a round.
No, I'm saying red flag. A playoff driver's not going to win in the round of 12. They'll win in the round of 8, but not the round of 12.
Not picking your man Blaney. Gosh. All right.
All right. So I gotta go green flag here. I don't think we'll see it. Because Tyler Reddick has been fast all year, but unfortunately he had a stretch of 3 bad races, or 3, worse than the other competitive drivers' days, and he got knocked out. But he is still wicked fast. He's been shown to really do well on road courses. He's been shown to semi well at restrictor plate races. But you've also got guys like Michael McDowell, you got guys like Brad Keselowski, you got guys like like Austin Dillon, who's been really good at their restrictor plate tracks. And that pretty much limits Talladega right there. You have more non-playoff guys, you do playoff guys, and the playoff guys at Talladega, they're all over the place. You can't really count on them. I got to go green flag. I don't think we'll see a playoff driver, get a win in round 12. I just don't see it. But who knows? Who knows? And that will be our green flag, red flag. I guess Mike Hoare will go with red flag. All right.
All right, Zach, lay it on us. Who are your picks for Talladega?
All right. Well, I've already alluded to it, but my pick for Talladega is going to be the one, the only Ryan Blaney. One of his best tracks is Talladega, and he's yet to have a win in 2022. I think this is a race that he is one of his best shots. So I think he will win at Talladega and advance in the round of 8. As far as my dark horse, I'm going to go with Michael McDowell. I was going to pick Brad Keselowski, but I think Michael McDowell is a better pick. Yet to win in 2022, but always a threat in plate races. Michael McDowell has 2 top 5s in Talladega and 7 tries and 3 top 10s. His best race finish here is of 3rd. So I think that he could definitely get it done and win this Sunday.
All right.
Aaron, who you got?
Well, for my pick, I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski to win. For some reason, the fall race at Talladega always seems to suit the man from Michigan in Brad Keselowski. And for my dark horse, actually funny, we kind of thought the same thing. Zach, I'm going Ryan Blaney as a dark horse.
Wait a minute. When did Ryan Blaney become a dark horse and Brad Keselowski become a favorite?
I don't know.
Because since for some reason RFK has decided to find speed in their cars now, and Ryan Blaney still has no wins.
I think we were judging it based off of who has no wins. So you basically just pick 2 dark horses. That's bold strategy.
I mean, I was going by the numbers. I mean, Ryan Blaney, he's always been good at the big tracks and the restricted plate tracks. And Brad Keselowski, like I said, the fall Talladega race always seems to favor him. So I can't go against those odds. Those odds, and so I got to go with those 2 drivers. I mean, going and coming out for picking Ryan Blaney as a dark horse, but if I'm picking Brad to win, I got to go with somebody else, and so I'm going with Blaney.
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 names, and I don't think either one of them can be a favorite, but I'm picking these because it is 2022. It is a crazy season.
Oh, Lord.
Everybody has a chance to win.
I'm getting my tinfoil hat ready, Tom.
Drivers aren't doing well. Non-playoff drivers are dominating these last 5 races now. So, considering that right now it is a crazy, crazy season, here's the deal.
I'm waiting for
Justin Haley, okay? He's coming off a 3rd place finish at Texas. This is Colleague Racing, who you remember the first place they ever really showed speed when they were running Xfinity was at the plate tracks. They're getting a little better all across the board in their Cup program. Haley's only win was at a rain-shortened Cup race at Daytona. So I'm going to say Justin Haley is my pick.
Okay.
If he is the favorite, who do you think the dark horse could be? If that's your favorite.
I swear, you say the name I think you're about to say, I may put you in a mental institution.
You have me shaking in my boots right now.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Okay, it's not crazy as I thought it was going to be.
If there's any place that he runs well, it is plate tracks. He's got the aggressive nature, I think, to make the moves he needs to win the race. I think there's enough playoff guys that are going to be playing with, as they say, scared money, because they're just going to try to finish because they've seen the carnage, that they're going to be ultra cautious. I think this is a recipe for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. To put that car in victory lane. So look for the 47 to run well, and he and Justin Haley are my 2 picks.
Honestly,
because it's 2022 and it's been a crazy season.
I mean, they're not bad picks. They're really not. And Tom, I honestly thought you were about to say Cody Ware. If you would have said Cody Ware, I would have put you in a mental institution.
If I said that, I would be part of the 13% of fans who thought this was a good race.
I mean, I thought you were about to say, hey, Cody Ware had got top 10 at Daytona. Granted, took everybody to wreck, but he did get a top 10 at Daytona and could have had a chance to win. That's what I thought you were going to say. See, then we got Mike Cora going with Brad Kay and Michael McDowell. Again, really good, solid picks. Really good picks. And I believe that will take us to the white flag. So, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it, Zach.
In a non-racing thing, I'm in a fantasy football league, or I was required to be in a fantasy football league for Haley's dad, my father-in-law's work, and so far I'm 3-0, so I'm doing something right. It's the only
There you
paid
go.
league that I'm in, so hopefully I can make a return on my investment this season. Last season, unfortunately, I was marred by injuries, and so I ended up finishing 7-7. So hopefully 3-0 start. Hopefully I can continue the momentum for these next couple of weeks.
Hopefully, you did not draft anybody on the offensive side of the ball from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I did not, and I did not draft anybody from the Bears, if in case anybody was wondering. I learned to stay away from anybody with anemic offenses. It seems like.
Does that include the Titans?
Yes, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
did have Derrick Henry last year, and that's what really ruined my fantasy league.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Jeez. Long year for the Titans. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
Tom, you want to go next?
Yeah. A couple of things. I want to send out my thoughts and prayers to a couple of specific people for somewhat related, somewhat different reasons. One of my friends that I race with, RJ Racer, runs in the league with me on Monday night. He lives about 35 miles outside of Tampa, Florida, and Hurricane Ian is headed right for him. So I certainly want to send out my thoughts and prayers to RJ. I hope you make it through safely. I hope your house is intact. I hope that the storm isn't as bad as they predict. Related to that, I saw a message on here that another friend of mine that I race with, Eric Santiago, better known as X25, who lives kind of in the same area, Orlando, he's got a hurricane headed for him. And to make matters worse, he is a young man, I think under 40, 38, 39 years old, and just suffered his second heart attack. He is apparently doing well, but they've got him at home now on bed rest, but he's just trying to recover from a heart attack and got a hurricane coming towards him. So I want to send out my thoughts and prayers to both of those guys tonight.
Absolutely.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
If you think you've got it bad, there's always somebody in worse shape. I was at my cardiac rehab appointment on Monday. One of the guys in there doing the exercises with me, I don't know how the topic came up, but he had knee surgery back in July, got discharged from the hospital, came home, and either that afternoon or the next day had a heart attack, and then a few days later got COVID. So he had knee surgery, heart attack, and COVID all in the same week. So, yeah. So
Can't catch a break.
Yeah, talk about somebody's always got it worse than you. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So, all right, sorry. Up to you, Aaron.
Yeah, Tom. You're pretty much hitting my flag on the head. I've got some family right now down in Fort Myers. Hopefully they have evacuated or found some safe ground, because right now I'm looking at it. It's pretty much a Cat 3, going to be a Cat 4 before it makes landfall as of the time of this live stream. So hopefully they have found some ground. I've also got some family over in Orlando and over in Port Orange near Daytona. Hopefully they will be all right. And hopefully they will be able just to kind of hunker down and kind of wait the storm out. But hopefully,
Zach, how close are your parents to the hurricane?
They're northeast of Orlando, so we're about an hour north of Daytona. So that's kind of also where it's tracking on the back end. Unfortunately, yeah, not necessarily great, but they're watching it for sure. Luckily, they have one of those heavy duty Generac, basically power stations. Almost, it seems like. So that'll take good care of them in case they lose power. Just hopefully the flooding is not going to be too great.
So, question, if anybody knows, when is it expected to hit landfall? Because I thought the original prediction was today that it would hit landfall. I take it that it's been moved back a little bit or something. When is it supposed to hit landfall?
It from right here, it's like off the coast of like Fort Myers, and I believe, pretty much just off the coast of Fort Myers right now. It looks like the bands of the hurricane are pretty much up as far as like Orlando.
Okay, so it is hitting as we speak. It sounds like.
But the either hurricane has not made landfall yet.
Okay.
So,
all right, I think that's all we got. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing along, and we will catch everybody next week.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, Talladega will be more of a exciting race for us to cover because God, Texas sucks. Glad it's over with.
Great.
No, it won. But anyway, y'all take care. Be safe.